mat punts. We have two, regular style punt that people are used to, and then, some people call it an Aussie kick or a flip-flop ball or end over end, whatever you want to call it. There's different names for it, but that's something I think in the last couple of years he's really done a good job of kind of mastering that technique. He spent a lot of time in the offseason working on that end of the field. I think I might have mentioned this earlier in the season press conference. When you look at teams and where a lot of the punts are happening, a lot of punts are happening from the -40 to the +40. And that's an opportunity to obviously pin your opponent back. We know Matt's got a strong leg, and I think in the other end of the field, he's obviously done a great job of flipping the field. But having the opportunity to pin your opponent down inside the 20-yard line and the ball not go in the end zone or come up short or whatever, I think really gives us the ability to keep the team down there, pin them down, flip the field position. So it was something we worked on a lot during OTA, something we worked on a lot in training camp. To Matt's credit, he's done a heck of a job in that area of the field, and give our gunners credit too. Getting down the field, forcing fair catches, keeping the ball out of the end zone, things like that. So it's kind of been a combination of things, but really that Matt's really done a really good job of kind of mastering that technique, that flip-flop ball or the Aussie ball or whatever, and he's really improved in that area. So kudos to him. He's had a couple of really big games for us in terms of flipping the field position, keeping the guys down there, and major improvement for him. So really happy with that.
I want to ask you, obviously, you've been through this situation before with a lot of teams at the end of the year where you're not playing for something. How do you ensure that players haven't checked out?
Yeah, the one thing I can say about this team this year, and I think I've mentioned this a few times in here, is there hasn't been any problem at all with effort. And I don't see that being an issue this week at all either. I can speak on my special teams specifically because that's obviously the stuff that I'm charged with. That's one thing. The first thing I look for when I grade the film is effort. And I said it to our guys in the meeting the other day on Wednesday. Is that the one thing this year we've done a great job. We made our mistakes like everybody else, but effort has not been an issue. And never, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. I don't see that being an issue whatsoever. I mean, we had a great practice today inside. Guys were flying around. The energy was there, the effort was there, the enthusiasm, which you would think maybe this time of the year might kind of slough off. Naturally was not. I think we had a really enthusiastic practice. So, I think we have some mature individual leaders in the group as well. In my group, a guy like Walt, a guy like Bolden, a guy like Sonoris doing it for a couple of years now, a guy like Mike Hull, John Denny, guys that really take a professional approach. And I really haven't seen anything different out of those. So I would expect nothing different. I mean, this is, as I said to them on Wednesday, this is professional football. You're going to act like a professional meetings, at professional practice, and a professional on Sunday. It doesn't matter when it is, and we're looking to be at our best regardless of the situation. That's a quote that we like to use a lot. It's a quote that I put up in the beginning of the season before the first preseason game with our group. Being at your best. Mental toughness to me. You hear a lot of people talk about mental toughness. You hear a lot of definitions of mental toughness, but the best one I ever heard was that one. Being at your best regardless of the situation, no matter what's going on around you, the environment. The situation, the outside things going on, kind of having the ability to kind of block those things out and be at your best and kind of tune everything else out. So, I kind of feel like that's what we'll do this Sunday, and I see no reason why we won't.
Who's been your best player in punt coverage and kickoff coverage this year?
Gosh, we've actually had a couple, Bear. I don't think there's one guy that's singled out. I mean, there's a couple of guys, I think, both in kick and punt coverage. You got to kind of start with Walt. Walt just kind of sets the tempo. You look the other day at the return that the Jaguars had. They actually spent 3 bodies on him, put 3 people to block him in one particular play. Anytime you're getting 3 guys on one, a guy has obviously made a lot of noise during the season. The other coach is planning against him. And so, Walt kind of sets a tempo for that punt coverage group. He's obviously the first guy down there a lot of times. Our second level coverage, Sonoris Perry has done a really good job. I'm just kind of thinking through the positions in my head. Obviously, Brandon Bolden's had a really good year as well. Mike Hull's only been there for half the year. Stephon Anthony's had a solid year. Those are the guys that kind of stick out. But you look at our kick coverage. Sonoris, Bolden, Walt, are usually your first guys down the field. It was real nice to see Mo Smith last week. Had a really good game. Balaj had a couple of good coverage reps. Armstrong's been a guy that's been hot and cold a little bit, but he's had some really flashy plays as a gunner. Balaj makes that great play in the open field last week. Unfortunately, got the horse collar, but really tremendous individual effort. I think Mo Smith last week, he won our belt for the week. He had a couple of really good plays individual plays. It was good to see him, and I kind of singled him out yesterday in a meeting, just, for a guy that's been, on and off the practice squad. And, and I mentioned Carew last week, but, really kudos to Mo as well, for a guy that can easily have kind of checked out because he's been on and off and back and forth, really stayed locked in and really gave a great individual effort last week. So I've been pleased with a lot of different guys. I don't think there's one guy I kind of say he's been the bell cow in coverage, but, when you look at punt, it's definitely Walt. And when I look at our kickoff, I really think more Sonoris and Brandon Bolden.
And if you finish the year with only 2 missed field goals, that would be impressive for a rookie. As we look back on the 2 misses, since we obviously didn't ask you about that,
right?
Knock on wood, right? I don't want to jinx you guys. But as you look back at the 2 misses this year, were both on base, or was there anything else that contributed to his only 2 misses to date?
Yeah, you know what? He's had the 1 missed PAT and then the 2 missed field goals. But all 3 kicks are kicks that certainly didn't miss by much. I don't want to get too specific, but this week he kind of towed the ball a little bit. And that's what happens when you tow the ball a little bit. He didn't get a good part of his foot on it. He kind of pushed it to the right. But, Jason's been very consistent. That's really, really the reason we picked him. Come out of the draft, come out of training camp. It's really what he shows week after week is consistency. He had a great practice yesterday. Really what he does on a day in, day out basis is just really what you've seen on the film as well, and what you've seen in the games and seen in practice. Just a consistent player, really strong leg. He's got one of the highest touchback percentages in the NFL right now, and I think that's something that sometimes goes unnoticed, but that's been a big part of our field position thing as well. His ability to kick the ball off has been really good this year as well, and so, I'm not the kick said he missed. You talk to him about it. He's going to tell you it's all him for sure. But again, he certainly didn't miss by much. It's one of those fine line things, and I'm not overly concerned about it at all.
How did you know he was going to be consistent? Because he wasn't consistent in college.
Yeah, that's something that's been talked about a lot. It kind of took his game film from college and kind of threw it out, to be honest with you. Because there was so much inconsistency in their operation that they had between the snapper holder and him, and no kick was the same. No 2 kicks were the same. And so I kind of used my individual workout with him as more of a barometer on what I think he can do, moving forward with the different hashes, the NFL ball and all that. And I was very, very impressed with the workout we put together when I went out there and worked him out.
John, he just celebrated his 40th birthday this month. How did he play this year, and do you want him back for a year, age 41?
He did, and so happy birthday to John. I think we mentioned that at some point in here. It's first of all, it's really, really impressive. I looked up the day it was his birthday. I was kind of busting his chops in a meeting, and I think I looked up the number of players that were right now actively playing at 40 years old, and I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it's a couple quarterbacks and 3 kickers and him. So I think there were 6 total guys. So first of all, an amazing feat by John to be still playing at this point in his life. I think one thing that people overlook with John sometimes is the unbelievable physical condition that he keeps himself, and he keeps himself in tremendous shape. He probably has a body of a lot of 25-year-olds would like to have, in terms of his condition. John Denny has proven that he can continue to play at a high level. When you take the 32 snappers in the league, I think John, in my opinion, is still in the top 10 of the 32 snappers. You can rank him wherever you want, but at bottom line, he's in the top third of the league at his position. John Denny's a guy you don't hear his name a lot of times, which is a good thing. I know he had the one game this year that I knew he wishes he had back, the one game against the Patriots, a couple of reps there. But John's still snapping at a high level, still blocking at a high level, still covering at a high level, and so there's no reason for me to believe he can't continue to do that. And John got started a little bit later in the NFL because of his the Mormon mission and the things that he was doing, and so for a 40-year-old, he got started a little bit late. But again, I think the way that John trains, takes care of his body, the way he lives his lifestyle, all those things are going to tell you that you're not looking at the usual 40-year-old. And so I do think John can continue to do this at a high level.
Riz, it seemed like when Jakeem got hurt, you might have lost some dynamicism. Is that the word? A dynamic.
If you say it is.
Yeah. Is that fair, A? And B, is that just simply a matter of when your fastest guy in the team goes out, it's going to take a hit?
Yeah, I think Jakeem's one of the most dynamic returners in the league, when it comes to it. Bottom line, I think when you look at the numbers he was putting together, prior to him going out, he was really putting together a Pro Bowl season. It would have been really interesting to see had he, continued throughout the year. I think he would have had my vote as the Pro Bowl returner for sure. I think both in kick and punt, he was having a really good year. There's no doubt in my mind that, with his ability, it certainly changes our opponent's game plan for sure when you lose him. And that's not taking anything away from anybody else on the team, but Jakeem was really playing at a high level. And so changes our dynamic for sure, changes our game plan, changes how we approach both the punt and the kick return deal. And I think Danny's done a really good job back there fielding the football and making good decisions and getting north and south with the ball. But, they're different players in the open field. I mean, that's the bottom line. Jakeem is certainly can create a little bit more in the open field. And really, when you look throughout the NFL, he's been one of the best at doing it. So certainly took a hit there and we lost him,
Well, I'm sorry, going back to Denny for a second.
Yeah.
What differences, if any, do you see with him now at 40 from the time you first saw him when I went to?
Well, he's lost a lot of hair in the 10 years I've been here, that's for sure. He grows along, so he tries to masquerade. He's not fooling me, though. He's thinning out up top there a little bit now. I mean, every guy, all of us, as we get older, we lose a step, certainly. And he's, when I got here, I think he was an elite cover player. Again, taking the 32 snappers. I think John was probably, of the 32 guys in the league of 10 years ago, he was probably one of the, if not the best cover guy, was certainly one of the top couple. He's certainly taken a dip there a little bit, but his strength and conditioning is certainly not taking any hit. He might have lost a step and may have lost a little bit of coverage skill, if you will. But, it certainly hasn't, we certainly haven't seen anything. The situation this year with him blocking, John's still one of the best blocking long snappers in the league. And again, I could talk about this for a while. That's one of the reasons it's really hard for the younger snappers to break into the league. Younger snappers break into the league. Majority of them don't block in college because of the difference in the rules. Majority of them snap and run. They don't have to block and protect. And that's why you see the average age of long snappers in the NFL is a little bit higher than most positions. You see a lot of guys that are 30 years plus still playing in the league because the majority of them have been playing for a long time, and that blocking skill is something that you develop over time. It's really hard for those younger rookie snappers to break into the league because a lot of them haven't developed that skill yet. And sometimes it takes a snapper 2, 3, maybe even 4 years to crack a roster that's really the number one reason. It's not the snap velocity. It's certainly not the cover ability. It's the blocking. And because of the rules, see, in the NFL, you can only release the outside man on each side. That guy can release right now. In college, you can release everybody. So about, I would say 80%, maybe even more, of college punt teams are snapping the ball and releasing right now, and those guys don't have to block. And so, it's a skill that those guys haven't done in college. It's hard for those younger guys to break into the league. So that's really why you see that average age is up there. John's not the only one. I think there's a bunch of guys that are 34, 35 plus in the league,
Yeah.
Thanks, Darren.
Yeah, thank you guys.